Okay, let us start. We will pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu. Dear brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, I'm glad to be here at the Buddhist Gem Fellowship in this evening to share this Dhamma with you and have some discussion on a very important this is Okay, dear brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, good evening to each and every one of you. It's such a delight to be here at BGF in this evening to discuss this important topic on poverty. I don't think that poverty sounds quite good. Brother Bobby really wanted me to come to BGF and really, went to Buddhist Mahavihara and made this request to come here. So when he asked me a topic, I told him about, maybe we can talk about spiritual poverty, the poverty, spiritual poverty. But now I regret of the topic. I should have asked you to put the topic like, not the poverty, but how to be rich. Yes, opposite, right? Yeah. So it will be more attractive to people to know how to be rich. But I think that when it comes to teachings of the Buddha, we have a lot of guidelines and advice from the Buddha to be rich, but not only in one sense. We have guidance from the Buddha to be rich materially and also to be rich spiritually. So how to be rich both materially and spiritually. And in fact, there's an important sutta of the Buddha is called Sutta on the Two Eye, or Two-Eyed Sutta. Where Buddha talks about two eyes of a person, or Dvichakku. There Buddha explains the person with the one eye. He said that actually there are three types of people in this world. Some people are blind, and some people are one-eyed, and other people are two-eyed. Of course, all of you has two eyes as far as I can see. But what Buddha meant by the eyes is not really this physical eye. And when he explains that, what is the nature of a blind person, he said that the blind person has no knowledge or interest or dedication to earn enough material wealth and be successful in worldly life. At the same time, he has also no interest in any spiritual growth or development. The person who has no interest or dedication to have a successful worldly life and also to be successful spiritually is called andho, the blind person. And then Buddha explained the person with one eye. The Buddha said that such a person is very industrious and very dedicated and go after pursuing the wealth and become materially rich, but he does not have any sense of moral behavior, any sense of spiritual growth. He's pursuing only the wealth, and therefore he does not have an idea what is right and what is wrong, what is blameworthy, what is praiseworthy, what is wholesome and what is unwholesome. That person is called person with one eye. Then Buddha explained the person with two eyes. Then he explained that person who has the interest and dedication and prudence in developing one's material wealth in order to support his own family, his friends, and even religious teachers, but as well as he has an interest and dedication to develop a moral development, moral life, and also a spiritual growth. One who has both interests is called the person with two eyes. And Buddha said that when you, in the same sutta, Buddha said that if you want to really find a friend, always try to find a friend with two eyes. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. So in that sutta indicates that actually Buddha has appreciated both types of richness, but of course most of the advice we find in the teaching of the Buddha is for a spiritual richness, a spiritual wealth, or a spiritual growth. But the Buddha has not denied the material wealth. In Buddhism, the material poverty is not valued as a virtue. Poverty is not valued in Buddhism as a virtue, both in a material sense and also a spiritual sense. And Buddha, in fact, said in the sutta that I'm going to share with you today, poverty is a form of dukkha for householders, not for monks or nuns, but for householders. Poverty is a form of dukkha for householders. So dukkha in Buddhism is something to be understood and something to be overcome. Therefore, it is not valued because the material wealth, the proper material wealth, what material wealth to righteous means indicates the virtues, the character of the person, and what is concerning for the Buddha is not the amount of wealth that we have, but how you earn that wealth and how you spend that wealth. Those are the two things that Buddha is always concerned of, and his teachings are mainly to guide us how to earn wealth righteously and how to use wealth with wisdom to benefit others, and also to use in a way that not being attached to them. Therefore, so if we earn the money with the righteous means, and if you know how to use it, knowing the limitation of the wealth in order to benefit others, there's no rule against in Buddhism when it comes to amount of wealth that we can earn. But anyway, so today my goal is not to teach you how to be rich materially. I think you can find that wisdom in many other sources too. But Buddha also has very important teachings on that, and mainly Buddha appreciated that. Buddha appreciated or pointed out 4 qualities that will help us to be material rich. In the Vyagapajja Sutta, Buddha said that industriousness, or not being lazy, is one quality, and then being prudence, or being careful where we will lose our money, where we will unnecessarily spend money, careless expenditure is the second one. Being careful, watchful of the behavior that you will lose your money, like addictions, and then this is the second one. The first one is being industrious and not lazy, and second one is being watchful and being prudent of the possible loopholes that we lose our money, importantly addictions. The third one is having a good network of friends. And Buddha already knew that the wealth is about networking. Wealth is about having good relationships with others. So the kalyana mittata, good having a good network around us, good group of people, is the third condition. The last one is called samajivakata, which is the balanced lifestyle. Balanced lifestyle, knowing how to how to balance your expenditure with your income, and always balance, have that balanced lifestyle. Then if you really know how to spend, because we should have knowledge not only to earn, but also we should have wisdom how to spend. So the last one, the balanced lifestyle, is also given as one important condition to be reached. So these are really very important guidelines, even in modern day life, we can use to be rich materially. But the most important insights we get from the Buddha is about spiritual richness, or how to overcome spiritual poverty. Today I would like to share with you one important sutta we find in the Anguttara Nikaya, in the numerical discourses. It is called the Sutta on the Debts. So if you want to know more about debts, you can read that sutta, Sutta on the Debts, or Inner Sutta. There actually Buddha describes what will happen to a person if person has a lot of debts, material sense, and then compare it with the person who is spiritually poor, and similar conditions, similar one will go through similar unfortunate things when we are spiritually poor. So first he explained material poverty and what would be the bad experiences that we go through. And first Buddha say that if someone is poor, that means someone does not have enough resources to meet his needs, enough resources to live his life. And what's going to happen if someone is poor? What's going to happen? And Buddha say that if someone also has not managed his own needs, then he has to take loans or debts. So the poverty leads people to get debts. But I think in the modern day, it's not only the poverty that leads you to borrow money, and maybe in the capitalist economy, right? We have a different concept, right? You get loans, or you get debts, not only because you are poor, but also to invest, to grow better, right? But at least, but we also get loans or debts when we are poor. So Buddha said that being poor is a form of dukkha, form of suffering for ordinary people. And then because of poverty, they take loans or they take debts. They go into debts. And Buddha said that is another kind of suffering. Then Buddha said that, according to the society of his own time, when we have debts, if you don't pay debts on time, what's going to happen? If you don't pay your loans, what's going to happen?
Interest.
Yes, you will increase interest. Exactly at the time of the Buddha, they also had interest. And Buddha said, thirdly, if you don't pay your debts on time, then there'll be increase of interest. Then you have to pay more. And Buddha said that's a third kind of suffering. And then if you also don't pay your debts and interest, what's going to happen? In here, what's going to happen to you? Let's imagine you have debts, you don't pay interest, and what's going to happen?
You lose your car, you lose whatever you have.
Yeah. So Buddha said that you start getting warnings. You get recalls, or don't recalls. You start to get warnings, and sometimes persecutions. So mainly at the time, during the time of the Buddha, those creditors will come after you. And before they come after you, actually, they will send you a message. They will come and inform you. So you get warnings. and you get, you get, maybe here you get calls from the bank. Yeah, that is the third one. So even getting warnings, getting reminders from your creditors is another form of suffering. Okay, so we start with poverty, and that leads to uh, getting debts, and then debts leads to interest, and if you don't pay them, and you will get warnings. You get and then Buddha said that the third one was going to happen is that if you don't respond to those warnings, or being noticed, getting notices, what's going to happen? Then they are going to come after you. Maybe they'll come after you. Maybe they try to get your belongings. They will find you. Where are you, right? And they will try to look for your assets, and then they will prosecute them. And they will try to get them, or maybe they will come after you wherever you go, and it's another form of suffering. And even if that happens, creditors come after you, they find you, they hound you, and then if it is still you are not being able to pay the debts, and the last thing will be they will file cases, they will prosecute you, and eventually you will be imprisoned, jail time. So this is what Buddha said, that this is what's going to happen if you are materially poor. Poverty, debts, interest, and then being receiving notices and warnings, and then being chased after, and the last one is imprisonment. Then Buddha said, this is what's going to happen if you are materially poor. When Buddha said that, I'm going to tell you, same thing is going to happen to you if I spiritually poor also. Similar conditions, similar unfortunate things, but not exactly the same, but similar. There Buddha explained in the Buddha's teaching what the real poverty is not only the material poverty. Buddha says real poverty is lack of moral qualities. And there Buddha mentioned the five important moral qualities that we may be lacking in our life. The first one, first one is called Saddha. I think we all know of that. I will explain it later. Saddha. If you have lack of Saddha, that is a spiritual poverty. Saddha. Deep appreciation of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, lack of confidence and conviction of the teachings of the Buddha. So the Saddha, lack of Saddha. And second one is called Hiri, lack of Hiri. That means lack of moral, we usually say moral shame, but mainly conscience, a moral sense, lack of conscience, lack of the sense of moral responsibility. That is Hiri. And then of course related to that is Ottappa. Usually we translate this as moral fear, but it's a sense of moral responsibility and moral prudence, knowing that knowledge is coming from the knowledge that the unwholesome deeds will bring unwholesome results, and based on the knowledge of the karma, you become little concerned and responsible of your actions. So you know that there are consequences to your bad wrongdoings. And the Hiri means actually developing a sense of self-respect, and it's not worthy for a person like me to do such a wrongdoing. And the Ottappa is a sense of moral responsibility that you develop out of understanding of the possible consequences of your bad deeds. So that's seen as a spiritual way, that moral sense, in a way developing a moral compass. Lack of moral compass is a poverty. So Hiri and Ottappa. And then the next one is called Virya. Virya is the the inner strength or inner energy to be able to withstand withstand the force of the defilements, when our habitual patterns, our urges push us to, to do a wrong thing, okay, steal this, or maybe, blame this person, cheat this. When our defilements, our habitual patterns are like pushing us with our, like having these urges coming inside, if we have enough strength to not to be victim to those things, and then with your, with your practice, you develop this ability to not to be victim. You recognize those defilements, you recognize your inner urges, you recognize those defilements, and you don't become victim to it. You rise above them. That is virya, the strength or the energy. And the last one is called panya, which is the wisdom or discernment, our ability to see the reality of life. So those 5 qualities are seen as a spiritual wealth: saddha, hiri, ottappa, virya, and panya. If someone is lack of those qualities, he is spiritually poor. As a result of that, what's going to happen? There's no inner strength within that person. Therefore, he will be a victim to his own defilements. He'll be a victim to all the social influence, and he will be a victim to his environment. Therefore, he will definitely do bad deeds, physical bad deeds and verbal bad deeds. And he doesn't have enough strength to control his speech. Therefore, he will tell lies. He will, blame others. He will, he will, use harsh speech. And also because of lack of inner strength, inner stability, he will definitely steal things, hurt other people, kill things, and maybe misuse our senses, and engage in sexual misconduct or sensual misconduct, and cheating, stealing, and lying. We will do all these things. And Buddha said that is similar to taking debts. Why? When you have debts, you have to pay off. When you accumulate bad karma, you have to pay off. So it is similar to taking debts. So doing bad karma, doing unwholesome deeds with our body, speech, and mind is similar to taking debts. Because and as long as you have debts, you have to pay them off. Your karmic debts. So Buddha says similar to taking debts. And then, what about the interest? Right? We learn about the interest, right? Buddha said that when you have done bad deeds, that means we're having like similar to having debts. Interest would be when we have done bad deeds, we really don't want to expose that to others. We try our best to hide the fact that we have done some wrong thing. We try to conceal those wrongdoings. So, as a way to present ourselves, as a way to hide, as conceal our wrongdoings, we will do more wrongdoings. Definitely, we will tell lies, and we will also do other things to protect ourselves from original wrongdoings. So that effort to conceal the wrongdoings is similar to accumulating interest. And Buddha said that we do it with our speech by telling lies. We will also do with our bodily behavior, like doing other things to hide it. And in mind, we will also wish that may others not find out what I have done. You have this internal wishes all the time. May others not find out that. So with our body, speech, and mind, we engage in additional unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome speech, unwholesome deeds that is similar to accumulating interest. Okay, then, in the case of taking financial debts, what is the third step? You get warnings. You get warnings. You are being noticed. You can receive notices. Buddha said that similarly, when when you have done the wrong things, what's going to happen? Your family members, your close friends, when it comes to monks, your companion, your spiritual companions will somehow find out that you have done this wrong thing, and they will come and tell you. They will come and tell you. Family members will tell you, I found out you have done these wrong things. It's not really good for you. You shouldn't have done this. So when our close friends come and tell us, I found out, you have cheated this person, and it's not a good thing for you, right? When our family found out, the wrong things we have done, our spiritual teachers found out that we have done something, wrong, and they will warn us. They will, give notices to us, and that is similar to receiving notices and warnings from our creditors, even when it comes to spiritual part. And then, when it comes to financial debts, the next step will be the creditors will come after you. They will chase you, chase after you. Buddha say that when we have done, like wrong deeds, it's like a similar to debts, and the chasing after, coming after us, would be like when you are by yourself. When you are by yourself, either in your bed or maybe in an isolated place, when you are by yourself, all the regrets, all the remorses, the feeling that I have done this wrong thing to that person, I have really cheated that person, I have really take advantage of that person, I have done this morally wrong thing. Those thoughts, those your own conscience will blame you, will come after. Those thoughts will come after you. You will not be able to sleep well. When you are by yourself, those thoughts will appear in your mind. It is similar to like being chased after by the creditors. Those thoughts will come after us. It will be very difficult for us to even meditate well. When we sit down, all these things will come and surface in our mind. So it's similar to being chased after. Okay, the consequences of having debts is being imprisoned, persecuted and being imprisoned. And Buddha said that similar to that, what's going to happen to people who have done wrong things, if we haven't corrected themselves, if we haven't done some wholesome deeds or corrected those wrongdoings, what's going to happen? As a result, they will have a bad destination after their death. They'll be born in animal realm, or realm of hungry ghost, or a realm of other bad destination. Buddha said that is real imprisonment. That's a real imprisonment, because we have to serve the lifespan of that being. And so that is similar to the imprisonment. So those are the consequences that Buddha had shown as, that we will have as a result of spiritual poverty. And then Buddha said, but as a person who developed this knowledge, awareness about spiritual poverty, he will try to be spiritual rich by developing those 5 qualities that I mentioned earlier. And if you develop those 5 qualities, he will have inner stability, inner wealth. Therefore, he will not be easily driven by his own defilements. He will not be conditioned by the opportunities to do wrong things around him. Therefore, he will have inner strength, inner stability, and therefore he will not do all those wrong things. As a result, he will not be imprisoned in his afterlife, and he will. And in fact, Buddha said that actually, person who is living with those 5 qualities actually living at ease in this world. And then that such a moral conduct will help him to develop meditation really well. Such a person will be able to settle his mind and actually experience meditative joy and meditative peace, meditative pleasure that is much, much higher than any sensual pleasure. And such a meditative joy, meditative peace will bring a stillness to his mind that he will be able to directly experience what is really going on in our mind, what is really going on in our life, and be able to have direct experience of the impermanence, and will have ability to have vipassana knowledge. As a result of that, he will have a correct understanding of the world. He will not be enchanted by the world. He will not be. He will not have illusions about the world. Therefore, he have correct grasp of the world. As a result, he will not be. He will not attach to the world. He will also not be repelled or do not develop resentment to the world. As a result, gradually he will be completely released from all forms of suffering. And then in that Sutta, Buddha said that actually it is the Nibbana that is the ultimate or complete relief from the deaths. And Buddha said that Ananya Uttama, that is the highest form of deathlessness. Highest form of deathlessness is the Nibbana. So what we can learn from this sutta is actually value of those moral qualities. Develop this inner richness through developing saddha and developing hiri, developing ottappa, and developing virya, and developing panya. It's the most important 5 qualities. So let's discuss a little bit about that. Okay. So when we say saddha, we understand saddha sometimes as faith, right? Faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And sometimes we understand it as confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Sometimes we understand it as conviction in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So there are different words to explain this. But when we think about our own practice, saddha is actually it's related to faith, related to conviction, related to confidence. But it is a deep appreciation of the great qualities of the Buddha. It's a deep appreciation of the power of the Dhamma. It's a deep appreciation of the compassion and the dedication of the disciples of the Buddha to practice this Dhamma. It's come from a deep appreciation. Whenever you think about the Buddha, if you know about the Buddha more, if you really know his life, if you really know his compassion, his wisdom, more you think about the Buddha, there'll be a deeper appreciation and deeper rejoice that will arise in your mind. And that is saddha, that develops faith in the Buddha, that develops conviction of the Buddha, that develops confidence in us, because when you know that Buddha has such a great qualities and you feel like I am protected, I have guidance. I'm not helpless in this world, because Buddha has realized the truth about the world, and Buddha has given teachings for us to overcome all these difficulties. So it develops a confidence in us that we are not helpless. We have a teacher. We have a path. So saddha is that the feeling that we get through deep appreciation of the qualities of the Buddha, and then feeling of we are not helpless. And also that comes also from deeper appreciation of the teachings of the Buddha. When you know more and more about the teachings of the Buddha, you develop more and more appreciation and more high regard to the Dhamma. And so the saddha develops the more we know about it. So that is why it is not necessarily the faith, but it's also like, maybe, it has some element of faithfulness too. And the more you know about the dedication of the disciples of the Buddha, monastic disciples, as well as any other dedicated disciples of the Buddha, so not only that Buddha has become enlightened, There are also other disciples of the Buddha who follow the teaching of the Buddha and achieve the same enlightenment. So you develop this trust, they develop the trust and confidence that it is possible for other human beings to achieve this freedom, achieve this enlightenment. And many disciples of Buddha have done it. So many, disciples of Buddha have followed the teaching of Buddha has done it. Therefore, you develop this trust. So saddha is basically the trust, the faith, confidence, the conviction we develop as a result of deep appreciation, high regard that we develop of the Buddha's qualities and qualities of the Dhamma and virtues of the disciples of the Buddha. That is saddha. The more saddha we have, more stable we are in our life. And it is difficult for external conditions to push us to do a wrong thing. And it is difficult for our defilements to push us to do a wrong thing, because we have this faith like filling our mind. So that is saddha. So that is inner wealth. It is like in a ship. We have to have an anchor. Although ship can move from side to side, that we have, in the middle we have a strong deck, and it is heavy. There's a heavy part. There's a heavy part in the ship. No matter the ship is moving or flipping from one side to other, it will never turn around, because underneath there's a heavy part in that ship. So in the same way, when we develop saddha and we have that inner stability, that it is very difficult for other people to influence us to do a bad deed. It's difficult for external circumstances to influence or do a bad deed. And then related to that is hiri and ottappa, as I mentioned earlier. And when you develop this deep saddha, and you also develop this sense of self-respect, this moral compass in us, you develop this reluctance. This may be a little bit of shamefulness, but more like a reluctance to do a wrong thing. As a disciple of the Buddha, it is not appropriate for me to do such a deed. And maybe as a father, it's not appropriate for me to do such a thing. As a member of and as a decent member of a society, it's not appropriate for me to do such a thing. So that is hiri, that sense, moral sense. It's related to conscience, inner conscience. So inner moral check, inner moral compass. That is hiri. And ottappa is slightly different from that. Hiri. It is actually come from understanding of the possible consequences of wrongdoings. If you have deep understanding of the karma, whatever unwholesome deed that I do, whether other people find it out or not, I'm going to be responsible for my actions. So that self-responsibility, developing a kind of concern, developing kind of prudence, based on the possible consequences that we may have, we may go through of our moral wrongdoings. So that is why it is usually called moral fear, but it's mainly concern or prudence that we develop as a result of knowledge of the possible consequences. So it's more like developing an inner moral compass. Once we have moral hiri and ottappa, it is very clear that what we should do, what we should not do. We will not be confused. Is it right thing to do? Is it wrong thing to do? Do I do this? Do I not do it? Once you develop hiri and ottappa, you have quite stable. We have clear moral compass inside you that will guide you what to do, what not to do. And that is a wealth according to the Buddha. Having a clear a conscience, and clear moral compass, and clear idea what are wholesome, what are not wholesome, what are morally wrong, what are morally correct. And that is seen in Buddhism as a wealth, inner wealth, richness. It's a great gift. It's a great gain for us when we have that. And the next one is virya. I explained that it is the inner strength, and that's also very important wealth, because we are controlled by two things in our life. One, we are controlled by our habitual patterns. We are controlled by our urges, inner urges. And we are also controlled by our external environment. Usually, any organism will respond to its own environment, right? And also, we also have instincts or maybe inner urges. So that is how any living being behave in his life, right? So we can almost predict what an animal, what a creature, what an organism would do based on the environment that a creature is put on, based on the set of instincts, set of inner urges that we may have. Virya is actually the ability to go against it. We have certain environmental condition. Maybe we have a good opportunity to do a bad deed. We are quite sure that nobody is going to find it out. We are going to get an advantage from a situation. Nobody is going to find it out. So we have a real good opportunity to do something wrong, right? And so we will be driven to do that, right? So environment will demand. Environment will demand you to like scold someone. Environment will demand you to cheat, maybe tell a lie, because you'll get a lot of benefits. You'll get good benefits if you like conceal your wrongdoing and lie. So the environment is ready for us to do some wrong thing. We will most often we will do it. But the person who has virya has the ability to go beyond that environmental conditions, and also importantly go beyond the inner urges that come in within us, our habitual patterns. We will not repeat our habitual patterns. We will see it, we will observe it, we will notice it, but we will not become victims to it. As a result, we also reduce that urge, reduce that pattern too. That is virya. It is a great spiritual wealth. We all have virya, but in different levels. Now, some have little bit of virya, and mostly failing to our own defilements, and sometimes we have higher level of virya. So I think when we are coming to this talk, our sister asked me, as a monk, what are the miracles that I have encountered in my life? I said that I became a monk not to see miracles, but to recognize my defilements and try to minimize and weaken them, and try to live a life that is not driven by my defilements. So I told her that most of the time we fail to our own defilements, and occasionally we win, right? So when you can offer a dana, when you can really be generous in your life, that is a moment of victory, because your defilements, your greed will always ask you to keep things for yourself, ask you to increase your own possessions, and will not encourage you to give. But the moment that you are able to give, you have won that battle with your defilements. And when you can be kind to others, and when you can be forgiving to others, and when you can be patient with in front of the bad negative treatment from others, and it is a moment of victory, because our defilements not really encouraging us to do that. So occasionally we win our defilements, and most often we fail to our defilements. So our purpose of our life, purpose of our monastic life, is also to increase the moments of winning over our own defilements, and eventually weaken our defilements, and then ultimately destroy. Ultimately, destroy all the defilements we call asava kaya. So that is why the arahant, The enlightened one is called Kina Savar, one who has destroyed all the asavas, all the defilements. So the virya is a very important inner wealth. Actually, our ability to withstand our energies, and also our ability to not to be a victim to given circumstances. So we have different levels of virya. Our goal should be to increase it, virya. And the last one is panya. That is different of the real wealth. The panya, our ability, our deeper realization, our deeper understanding. Panya is different from knowledge. Knowledge we can gain from listening to others, reading books, and knowledge always comes from external sources, the knowledge. But wisdom or discernment or insight comes through within. It is personal realizations. So knowledge can help us to have wisdom or panya, but knowledge is not necessarily panya. So we can know, and then we can try to test it, we can try to verify it with our own experiences. So then panya is something that we can develop through reflecting our own experiences. If we have some knowledge of the Dhamma, we always try to compare that knowledge with our own life experiences. For example, we have learned that craving leads to suffering, piece of knowledge. But if we can use it to reflect our own experiences, our own, whenever you have a moment of sadness or suffering or frustration and pain, and try to reflect, is there a craving here? Is there a grasping here? What is the grasping here? So if you can reflect, when you have direct your own personal realization, yes, this is the part of craving that leads me to have this experience of suffering. So you can have it reflecting of your previous experiences. You can also have that deeper realization by paying attention to the current experience with a settled, focused mind. So having those insights, the personal realization, and then you don't need others to verify it. You have a deeper personal realization. This is called wisdom or panya, and that is a spiritual wealth. Because then no one, you don't need others to encourage you to do good deeds, or no, you don't need others to encourage you to prevent from doing bad deeds. Because through your own internal realization, you know that any wrongdoings may have some momentary pleasure or advantage, but eventually they are not really for our own well-being. Therefore, with that conviction, with that deeper understanding, with the deeper wisdom, we know what to do, what not to do. But that comes through reflection, that comes through experiment, that comes through deeper observation of our own mind, and that is wisdom. So those 5 qualities are seen in Buddhism as inner wealth, and with that inner wealth, you will not take debts. That means you will not take bad deeds, you will not have bad karma. As a result, you will not, there's nothing to hide. You not try to hide and increase your interest. And there will be no admonishments you get from your family members or from your teachers or friends. And as a result, there will be no remorse or guilt that will hound you, that will chase after you. And as a result, there will not be imprisonment for lifetime, being born in bad destinations. And as a result, we will have inner rich. But such a moral conduct, such good qualities will not stop you there. That will lead us to have deeper and deeper levels of joy that we can experience in our life, higher levels of happiness, meditative joys, meditative happiness, happiness that is not related to our senses, and the happiness that is beyond our senses. And from there we can have a deeper insight and deeper release from all forms of suffering. So this is lesson we can learn from the sutta on the debts, the inner sutta. So I hope that we can all learn to be spiritually rich by developing those qualities, the moral qualities and virtues. So I wish all of you to be super rich. Thank you. So we can have questions and answers.
Can we just sum up those five?
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
What are the
Saddha, Hiri, Ottappa, Viriya, and Panya. But in another, this five has been described as 7, but it's simply added Sila. Sila, but it's actually application of Hiri and Ottappa. And then also Sutta means knowledge is also in Dhamma knowledge. So the Sila and Dhamma knowledge is added to this 5 in other discourses. Yeah. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yes, welcome.
Very nice talk. How to experience happiness without senses?
Oh, okay. Yeah, how to not without sense. How to experience happiness that is beyond senses. You should come to my meditation retreat. No, I mean, yes. Actually, the joy that is beyond senses is experienced when we meditate. Yeah, when we meditate, we learn to be without sensory stimulants. It is very boring to be without any sensory excitements, right? That is why meditation is very boring to people. In fact, right, last weekend we had our retreat, and one participant honestly said that, meditation for me is very, very boring. But I don't know why she came for 2 days. But it's really boring. It's really not exciting to be without any sensory, indulgence, any sensory stimulants. But there's a hidden joy actually we can experience. We used to see visual forms all the time, different exciting visual forms. When we get fed up with one form, we will go to another form, and we fed up with one, we go to another form. So we keep changing different, visual forms. And in the same way, you will enjoy certain, sounds. You listen to certain music for one time, after you listen to that music for 2 weeks, you lose interest, you start listening to another music, right? So we keep listening to different kinds of music. Same with different tastes. You like to eat certain kind of food, after a week, in Malaysia, you have all the options, opportunity to enjoy all different kinds of food. I think Malaysia is the country that I have seen the highest diversity of food. So you can fool yourself and go around and try different types of food and never feel fed up. But in reality, all of our sensual indulgence is actually unsatisfying at the end. It simply make us more wanting, more lack of that, no matter how many times we indulge. So what we do in meditation is learning to be without this bombardment of sensory stimulus. So initially we feel like having something to see is the happiness or pleasure. Having something to hear is the happiness and pleasure. Having something to eat or smell is the happiness or pleasure. But there is a pleasure that we get from a freedom from sensory, stimulants. It is like, so I think I remember, Bhante Rahula, who's an American monk living in the US, and he gave a very interesting simile. Our normal life is actually having 6 telephone lines around us. All are ringing at the same time. We try to answer each phone. So we have six sense organs, including the mind, and we have all the sensory stimulus around us. They all keep demanding our attention. So we pay attention to the ear for some time, and then we pay attention to eyes, and we pay attention to nose, and we keep moving from one to the other, one to the other, one to the other. When all these 6 sense, all the environment around us demand our attention, it is like try to answer all 6 telephone phones at the same time. And that then is tiring. So having a meditation object, maybe the breath, maybe the virtues of the Buddha, maybe loving kindness, it's just like having a one private line that you can talk to without having all the disturbances around it. And so the first joy we experience in meditation is the freedom or the relaxation we get as a result of being away from continuous sensory stimulants. It's a different kind of joy. It's not the kind of usual kind of joy that we are accustomed to, but you experience it when we are away from a lot of sensory stimuli. It's like going to, simple example would be going to a remote area from a city, and then that freedom that you get through your senses. Or maybe you used to enjoy seeing so many beautiful pictures, like watching a movie, watching different shapes and colors makes you so happy. But after a while, you got fed up with that, and then you just stare at empty sky. Such a freedom. That's a joy that we really have to discover the depth of that joy. So that's a meditative joy. That is not related. In the joy we get as a result of being secluded, being free from sensory stimulus, is a joy that we experience when you are moving towards the first jhana in meditation. But there are also other forms of happiness actually that we get when you go deeper and deeper, deeper. The next joy comes from stillness or stability of the mind. Our mind always demands certain things from us, and there's always emotions are always agitated, but there's a point that we can actually appease all the agitated emotions and develop more kind of stability inside. So all these joys we call piti and sukha in Pali. They are not related to senses, they are related to mind, and they are experienced as a result of being away from our sensory stimulants. So meditation, simple terms. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah. Good evening, Bhante. Yeah. I think you mentioned the word sada, which is the first of the 5 quality to be reached spiritually.
Yes.
That's the most important. You mentioned that sada is basically a deep appreciation for the quality of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha.
Sangha.
My understanding is, in addition to that, or in order to have a deep appreciation, it's more than just studying the Buddha's past lives. His whole life teaching the Dharma, and I think the Sangha, I think dedicating the life propagating the Dharma. But in addition to that, the sadhana is also developed through experiencing what Buddha has taught us. Without experience, I think it's hard to have confidence in what Buddha taught. So I think in order to have sadhana, one have to really have to experience the teaching of the Buddha. Otherwise, I think probably the sadhana would not be strengthened.
Yes.
Instead, I think you want to carry the path.
Exactly. You are very correct, brother. There's the initial saddha, and there's enhanced saddha. Definitely, our experience will enhance our saddha. That is why enlightened monks have the highest saddha for the Buddha. So it is not faith in that sense. And if it is a faith, if it is a belief, and when you know it, you will not have the belief in it. But enlightened other disciples of Buddha has the highest faith, highest saddha, because it's through their own experience. So experiences, our own personal experiences, enhance saddha. But we will not test. We will not put anything into practice without having the initial saddha. So first we had to have some appreciation, some high regard, and some trust in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha in order to put this into practice. Like then of course so we have to have initial saddha without experiencing anything, just to commit to this practice. And once you come to this practice and then you experience it, then you will enhance the trust. It is like when you go to a doctor, you have to have trust. But anyway, so you are correct. Our saddha will be enhanced with our own personal experiences. But in order to have personal experience, we need to practice. We will not practice, we will not commit fully to practice if we don't have saddha. Yeah, it's yeah.
Bhante, we think in English words, not in Pali words. So there are three English words that come to mind when you mention saddha and virya. The first is inspiration. The second is motivation. So I'm trying to connect that with understanding of what is saddha and what is virya.
Yeah.
Am I right to say that saddha is more, the word inspiration
Yeah.
fits into saddha,
Yes.
and the word motivation fits into virya, because motivation is it comes from the word moving, so that means a wish to act or a wish to take action, and that would be virya, the energy and the desire to do something about it, virya. That would be motivation, because motivation is built on wanting to act, to move, motivate,
Wanting to
motivated
move,
to
right.
take action.
Yeah.
Yeah, so motivation is more action oriented. Inspiration is more inner desire of wanting to achieve something
Yeah.
internally. So one is more internally, the other one is more driven to do something. So is that correct?
And I think I can fully agree with the term inspiration being very close and related to saddha. Definitely, it's like
Yeah.
the more saddha we will be inspired to follow the Buddha, we will be inspired to practice. So inspiration is very closely connected to saddha. But when it comes to virya, there is element of motivation there, but it's mainly an ability, the inner ability we develop to in a ability, in a strength that we develop to not to be victim, not to be a victim to our own defilements, and also not to be a victim to the external circumstances. So, how you relate that? So
That is virya, is it?
that's really like that in a strength, in a ability. To go beyond, what situation demands, go beyond what's your inner urges. So like going beyond, what is normally, going beyond your inner urges, going beyond, influence from external environment. So that's the virya, that ability, that quality. Yeah.
That brings me to the third word, which is aspiration, and that's different from inspiration.
What is that?
Okay, inspiration is when you see something good, you feel good about it, you want to be like that. So you learn the Dharma and you're inspired to practice the Dharma. That is inspiration. Aspiration is something that comes from within. Aspire. Not inspire is coming from outside. Aspire is coming from within. So it's actually more than just motivation. It's arising from within a very powerful willpower to want
Oh,
to
I think,
accomplish.
yeah,
You were
will.
mentioning two levels of
Willpower.
saddha. This could be the enhanced level of saddha. The
Yeah,
aspiration.
saddha and virya is very connected. I didn't use the term willpower. I think virya is related to that willpower, and sometimes also translated as vigor.
Yeah, vigor.
Vigor, virya is like a vigor, willpower. It's related to willpower. Yeah.
So the word aspiration, I think, is more with virya.
Yeah.
Motivation is a lower level of aspiration.
Okay. So aspiration higher. Yeah.
Yeah, aspiration is actually a very powerful. It's a very powerful word.
Yeah.
I mean, if you understand, if you actually examine the meaning of these words deeply, aspiration
Maybe
is
like with some level of knowledge of psychology and maybe linguistics, right? Yeah.
yeah.
But anyways, it's related to, like, I think if it's related to willpower, and vigor is related is virya.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
Yes, brother.
You mentioning just now, sorry, hello. Just now when you speak about that worldly rich and eventually what happens when hello and eventually what happens and you turn into poverty due to debts, interest, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So my question is, what for those who are in poverty? How do they flip it around?
Yeah, it's a very good question, brother. Yeah, so many people are in poverty in the world, right? So definitely, when it comes to like material poverty, taking debts is only one way to do it, but it's not a skillful way. But that's what many people would do. But Buddha would not recommend not recommend to take debts as a way to overcome poverty. And that is why we have a lot of teachings in the Buddha, actually, because poverty is seen as something to be overcome. It's not valued in Buddhism. Is spiritual poverty? No, sorry. Even material poverty is not seen as a virtue in Buddhism. So Buddha said that there are two reasons why people are poor. One is given as the unfair distribution of resources. So in the suttas like Chakravarti Sihanada Sutta, and also there's another sutta called Kuta Danta Sutta, Buddha explained that when the resources are not equally fairly distributed among populations, there will be poverty, and that poverty will lead to immoral behavior, and that immoral behavior will lead to chaos and conflicts and social problems. And therefore, he has encouraged all the rulers, if you really want a peaceful country, make sure that the resources and the wealth of the country is distributed among all classes of people. So one way to overcome poverty is actually the policies of the government and the rulers, and then programs by the government and rulers to help the classes of people who are in poverty. That is one condition. But Buddha has also recognized that there are psychological issues that people will stay in poverty, and that's why I explained earlier. Buddha talked about lack of industriousness, laziness is seen as a cause of poverty, and so therefore Buddha said that Uttana Sampada, the industriousness, the readiness to take the hardships, is seen as one virtue that can help person to overcome poverty. And then also we have to Buddha really encourage. We also have to pay attention to what are the behaviors and habits that we will lose money. And he talked about addiction to gambling, addiction to drinking, addiction to entertainments are seen as loopholes of a person's wealth. So he first asked people to close those doors that you will waste your money. So there are a lot of advice from the Buddha and Buddha has even said that there's a very important simile given by the Buddha for lay people to be financially stable. He said that earn like a bee, bhambaraseva iriyate, earn like a bee. So it's a very important simile because a bee has two qualities. One is bee is always busy, right? Always busy, always industrious, not lazy. But no matter how busy is a bee always take nectar from the flowers without destroying, without harming the flower. So when Buddha used the simile, be like a bee, he indicates that you have to be very industrious, very active. But at the same time, we should not hurt or harm others in that process. Yeah. So two approaches. One is individual approach, and other one is societal approach. Yeah, maybe support and also they said that having a good network of people, having good people to associate with, someone who can help with your business, someone can guide you to take good decisions, and not bring you to wasteful style of life. So having maybe selecting good friends is one important step to be rich, overcome one's poverty.
One more question. How's Nibbana feel like?
How?
Nibbana.
So here, let me read the last verse of the sutta. This is the highest knowledge, that happiness unexcelled, sorrowless, dustless, at rest. That is the release from the death, the ultimate release from all forms of deaths. That is Nibbana. Yes. Going to the sutta.
What's the name of the sutta?
Inner sutta. Inner means deaths.
How is that?
INA. Inner sutta. In the Anguttara Nikaya, numerical discourse it's 6.45. 6.45. Inner sutta. So how the Nibbana feels like, right? Yeah. We can, so we can read, the exclamations, the utterances, the sharing of the experience of the enlightened, ones, the Buddha himself and other disciples, to get some glimpses of it. The Nibbana is a complete release from all forms of suffering, tensions, and it's complete freedom, complete absence of any unhappiness, complete freedom. But that's the ultimate, But I think before we go to that highest ultimate freedom, we can experience glimpses of it. We can experience if the Nibbana is 100% freedom, 100% release, 100% happiness, 100% realization, full knowledge, full wisdom, and we reach 1% of it before we reach 100%. We reach 10% of it before we reach 100%. So in our practice, we actually experience a Nibbana, but not in the full-fledged Nibbana, but 10% of Nibbana. When you deeply experience freedom from the inner defilements, at least for a moment, we experience the glimpses of Nibbana. So Nibbana is ultimately being, the inner fire is being cooled down completely, to the point that fire will never come back. Right now we are in fire, always burning inside. But we can reduce that burning. We can experience lack of that burning at times, when the moments of generosity, moments of selflessness we experience in our life. We experience it, some percentage of it. So the ultimate Nibbana is complete freedom, and it is exactly see that complete deathlessness. But we can experience glimpses of it in our practice.
Bhante,
Yeah.
can the Buddhists attain Nibbana without meditating?
Okay. The path to Nibbana is clearly explained in the Buddha's teaching. That is, the benefit of it is a clear path, it's a gradual path. That gradual path is actually, Nibbana is, complete freedom, complete, eradication of defilements and complete release from, those defilements. So in order to have a complete release, we need to have a direct experience. We need to have insight, personal, insightful experience, what is really going on in our life, in our mind, in any moment of experience. Rather than experiencing anything, we need to know how we experience it. So we have to have direct, In a way, we really have to see the inner mechanism, what is really happening within us in real time. In order to have such a clarity, such a clear, insight penetration to that subtle process happening within us very fast, we have to have a stable, focused mind. Without stable, focused mind, we cannot really detect, we cannot really experience this very subtle, very fast process happening within us. So without such a mind, we call it still focused mind, samadhi. Without that mind, we cannot have that penetration. So in order to do that, we have to calm down our mind. So samadhi is necessary to have a complete eradication. But have temporary or partial eradication, partial eradication of defilements before that. With sila, with generosity, we can have partial control of defilements. With samadhi, we can have quite a bit of subduing of defilements. But complete eradication of defilements has to come to insightful penetration to what is really happening in our experience. So in order to do that, we have to have a deep level of samadhi. Yeah. So it's given as, like sila, samadhi, panya, and the generosity also part of that. So it's path is clear. It's no way to, escape
So,
meditation.
for Buddhists who don't meditate, they don't get good in Nibbana.
They get glimpses of Nibbana, as long as we can be generous, you can do, you can follow precepts, you can be generous. They are in the path. They may not get right here, but they are gradually preparing themselves.
The next life.
Yes,
Probably.
probably, yeah. Maybe even not next life, maybe next life. Yeah, yeah. Not a vast majority of Buddhists, including monastics, will not experience full Nibbana in this life, but we are simply training for it. But along the way, we experience some percentage of Nibbana. And if we can experience 10% of Nibbana, that's such a release. That will inspire you to have 100%. Yeah. So we are not ambitious that much, to like get it done right here. So we want to experience glimpses of it before we get full taste of it.
Thank you, Bhante, for your wonderful sharing. Would Bhante like to lead us in the transference of merits?
Yeah, sharing it. Yeah, okay. Okay, it is so nice to spend this evening with you. And by coming to this Dhamma talk, we discipline our body, speech, and mind. And throughout this time, our mind was quite wholesome. And we managed to keep our mind free from greed, free from hatred, and free from some level of delusion. So whenever we keep our mind free from those three roots, we generate wholesome karma, wholesome energy. So throughout this hour, we have generated so much good energy, good karma, good merits. Let us now generously share these merits with everyone else. First of all, let us recall to our mind our ancestors, our family members, people who have sacrificed, dedicated so much for us. Let us share these merits with all our departed relatives and ancestors, and also especially with our teachers, our past teachers who taught the Dhamma with great compassion. May all of them share our merits. May all of them continue their journey towards enlightenment. May they all be well, happy and peaceful wherever they may be. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. idang me ñātinang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Let us also share these merits with all other living beings. All the divine beings and all other beings share this merit. May they be benefited from these merits. We want to especially share these merits with beings who do not have an opportunity to listen to the Dhamma, have chance to practice the Dhamma. May all of them share these merits. May they too have opportunity to listen to the Dhamma and practice the Dhamma. May all living beings share our merits. May all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Ettavata ca amhehi sambhatam punya sampadam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata ca amhehi sambhatam punya sampadam sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata ca amhihi sambhatam punya sampadam sabbe sattha anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.